Hey folks, Dr. Dan here. Thanks for joining me today on DocTalk. We're going to have a great show, although you're just stuck with me flying solo, but we're going to talk about something that you need to be talking about with your neighbors, community leaders, and that's how good a job we do of using antimicrobials judiciously within the beef industry. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Hi there folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here from Kansas State University, and today we're going to talk about antibiotics. And you know, we've heard a lot of talk about the Veterinary Feed Directive. We've heard many times in the news about antimicrobial resistance or antibiotic resistance in the use of antibiotics in production animal medicine. We've also heard about antibiotic residues. And so what I thought today was, let's take a step back. Let's talk about the crucial issues. Let's talk about continuing to get better within our industry. Let's talk about the true relative risk of antimicrobial resistance. And let's talk about how we use antibiotics as a tool, not only for animal health, but for human health. I've worked with many different retailer groups. And one of the things that McDonald's retail did is they did a survey on animal welfare. And when they asked consumers on the street what animal welfare was, if they asked 6 different people, they'd get 6 different answers. And so nobody really truly knew what animal welfare was. But the one thing that came from those studies was that the typical consumer correlates a healthy food product comes from an animal that was healthy. So safe, wholesome food comes from healthy animals. Makes sense. And animals that are healthy are ones that have had good animal welfare or good animal husbandry. We understand that not all animals that receive good animal husbandry are not going to get sick. Some of them will get sick, just like our children get sick. But understanding that the core value of the consumer, or the core thought process of the consumer, is that a healthy animal is one that is well taken care of, and a healthy animal is one that provides us a safe food product. Now, we have to explain to the consumer that we don't want to use antibiotics. When I use antibiotics in animal health programs, that means that animal was sick and we needed to treat it for the disease just like they would if I got sick or got respiratory disease or some sort of bacterial infection. And these are great tools that we have. With the VFD coming, one of the things that consumers really want to see is, are we providing consistent and constant improvement in our systems? You can see that from the USDA, from the veterinary client-patient relationship, from FDA, from industry initiatives within the beef industry, we have continued to get better, and we'll talk about that during the show today. What we want to focus on first in the next segment is we're going to talk about the relative risk of antimicrobial resistance. We're going to talk about going in an industry from just having antimicrobial residue avoidance on our mind to antimicrobial resistance avoidance on our mind. So this is going to be a paradigm shift for our industry, but we also need to understand that we have beef coming from other countries. And if the beef is coming from other countries, if the producers and veterinarians are not being held to the same standards as the consumers and regulation is being held in the United States, I think that's an issue because they're going into the meat counter side by side as the same product. So we'll talk about things that lead up to that. We'll talk about traceability and much more. But it's time that we get real about the antimicrobial resistance issue in this country and antimicrobial regulation and its impact on the beef industry.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
ValleyVet.com, ValleyVet.com. Valley Vet
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information. This segment is brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook, or visit us online at sftmeats.com.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here at the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University. And we're talking about antibiotic residue avoidance and antibiotic resistance avoidance in our beef cattle supply chain. And one of the things that we have to understand is the one beef concept. And the one beef concept is understanding that if you own cattle on the hoof, if you own cattle in a feed yard, a cow-calf operation, stocker, feedlot operation, if you are a packer that is processing cattle or slaughtering cattle, if you are a hamburger grinder, or if you're a retailer, you're part, or if you're a consumer with beef in your refrigerator, you're part of the beef industry. We're all part of the beef industry trying to work together to provide a safe, wholesome product for the end consumer. And a lot of times we see retailers making decisions on antibiotics and making some snap judgments on something that might get them some market or some press at the point in time. And one of the things we have to understand is that when it comes to our industry, they say the greatest distance between two people is the last 3 feet. And the retailer is the last 3 feet of the beef industry to the consumer. Now, activists, such as animal rights activists or antibiotic activists or different lobbying groups, have agendas and interests to decrease the trust between the retailer. It used to be decrease the trust between the consumer and the beef industry. The consumer trusts us. The consumer is 97% of Americans consume beef. We are on the same team. So now the trust is being eroded between the executives at the retailers with the farming industries. Stephen Covey Jr. just wrote a book about the speed of trust. And in that book it says, as trust decreases, the speed of business slows down and the cost of business goes up. And so while activist groups that may have a hidden agenda of wanting us to not eat meat, what they're trying to do is increase the cost of production by eroding that trust, increasing audits, increasing assessments, loss of technology without due diligence in making snap decisions to just get the activists off their back or to get themselves a first place in a market share just through marketing and getting in the different newspapers or news outlets. So understanding we really have, when it comes to residue avoidance, antibiotic residue avoidance, when you look at FSIS's data, 99.9% of market animals, whether it's hogs, poultry, cattle, dairy cattle, when they go to slaughter, do not have an antibiotic residue. 99.9%. That's tremendous. The infrastructure that we have in this country of veterinarians and producers working together to avoid having antimicrobial residues, understanding the withdrawal system, understanding constant movement forward is tremendous. We all need to be thankful for everybody working together. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how the relative risk of resistance then, not residue, resistance is calculated here in this country. It's going to be a great show. Thanks for joining me this morning. I'll be back after these messages.
No matter where, no matter why, The Veterinary Health Center at Kansas State University is committed to providing quality patient care to animals and exceptional customer service to their owners. From routine checkups to emergency and specialty care, our world-renowned specialists and experienced professionals are here to discover, to teach, and to heal.
Let us know.
How can I help?
How can we help?
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
The BQA Tip of the Day, sponsored by Beringer Engelheim Vet Medica Inc.
Howdy, I'm Kurt Pate with the Tip of the Day. We deal with a lot of bulls around this place, and we get along with them pretty good because we work them a lot. And if you work them properly and move them quite a bit, the fighting will reduce, and every time you move them, they learn to take pressure, and then when you start to work with them, they don't start fighting each other.
I'm Rexanne Struve, veterinarian in Western Iowa. I have a veterinary clinic and started doing stem cell therapy on dogs in August of 2014. And after the first 2 dogs, after 3 weeks, I saw such dramatic results. I said, hey, I have arthritis. I have joints that really need this help. Where can I go to get this done? I had stem cell therapy done in November of 2014 on my finger joints, my hip, and the ball of my left foot, all of which I'd had real severe problems with. Saw a pretty dramatic improvement in a short amount of time. I would certainly recommend that somebody don't wait until I'm in the position that I was in with the damage already done to my joints. I encourage veterinarians to use it for their animals, and I encourage anybody who sees this video, if you have need, get in contact with these people because this is a phenomenal place to have this done.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Hey folks, Dr. Dan here. Thanks for joining me this morning on DocTalk. I'm glad you're back with us. Now let's talk about antimicrobial resistance. To get a resistant bacteria, basically the bacteria is exposed to an antibiotic, it becomes resistant to that antibiotic, and then is transferred from the bovine to the human. For that to happen in the beef industry, we would have to have first of all, the 3 bacteria that we are concerned about, E. coli, Salmonella, Campylobacter. So we're talking about a foodborne pathogen. What is the relative risk just starting out of even having a foodborne pathogen in your beef product? Extremely low, okay? We do more testing and removal in this industry than we ever have. We have such sophistication. So the first relative risk is very little of having a foodborne pathogen. The next one is the bacteria, if it doesn't make it through, has to be resistant to an antibiotic, which again is very, very low prevalence. So when we think about the beef industry going from the feedlot to the packer, to the processor, to the retailer, to the consumer, the relative risk of antimicrobial resistant bacteria going from a farm animal to a human being is very low. At the level of the feedlot, we have the veterinary client-patient relationship. We have the FDA approval of products. We have the USDA anti-mortem inspection at the packing plant. We have USDA inspection and USDA testing and private testing of all meat products for foodborne pathogens. When it goes to the processor, we again have USDA inspection and testing. And then at the retail level, you think, well, there's nothing going on there. We have restaurant inspections to make sure the food is properly prepared. Now let's go to a country that potentially is importing beef or exporting beef to the United States. Let's go to Mexico. Let's think about Canada. Let's think about Australia. Let's think about third world or developed countries such as China or India, where we don't have veterinary client-patient relationships. We don't have veterinarians. We don't have FDA approval. We have many generic iterations of products being used. You can buy them off the street corner. There's no FDA, there's no USDA, there's no regulation, but yet the retailers here in this country or the people in this country are saying, we're worried about antibiotic resistance when we have the most regulation, the most sophistication, and we have a continuous improvement in our process. When you talk to the CDC and they talk about animals, the resistant antibiotics going from animals to humans, they say that in the peri-urban areas or the slums of third world countries where animals actually live with the people, and there's no regulation and no veterinary oversight, that's where the superbug could or would be the highest likelihood of being created. If we come back over to the United States, and we correlate that to the United States of where our greatest risk of antimicrobial resistance would be, of where animals are living with humans, it'd be our small animals or our companion animals. But yet I've not heard anybody talk about antimicrobial resistance in small animal medicine after Poochie goes and has an itchy tummy and we put it on a cephalosporin at the veterinary clinic, send it home, it grooms itself, drinks out of the toilet, and then licks your child on the face. That's a lot more direct transmission of antibiotic and higher risk than anything you're going to see from our food animal industries. When we come back, we're going to wrap up and talk a little bit more about these issues, but I'm glad you joined me today.
Broadband has become as important to us as highways. That is why DocTalk is teaming up with NTCA, the Rural Broadband Association, and rural broadband companies like Blue Valley Telecommunications in fighting for quality broadband access through the program Smart Rural Communities.
I don't think we have any idea what's coming in the future. I couldn't have imagined 5 years ago what we're doing today. So in 2 years, I would guess there's things we can't imagine that we're going to be doing.
To learn more, visit ntca.org/smart or bluevalley.net.
I will take action against herbicide-resistant weeds. I will know my weeds, and I will stop them before they go to seed. I will do whatever it takes to give my crops the upper hand, and I will use multiple herbicide sites of action because every action counts. I will take action, this time for all time.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
This Meet the Future Veterinarian is brought to you by Zuprevo. Choose confidence. Choose Zuprevo for BRD treatment. Kathleen Morris is the 5th generation of a Texas ranching family, and her mother is a veterinarian, so it was natural for her to choose a career in veterinary medicine. Her main interests are in equine dentistry and podiatry, but she also loves working with small ruminants and livestock. After graduation, she will spend the summer working in Alberta, and then return to Texas to work full-time in a mixed practice.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
Healthy cows start with the new hired hand automatic livestock sprayer. Rancher invented to provide an efficient alternative to pour-on and injectable parasite management systems. The portable design allows cattle to treat themselves head to hoof. Strategic device placement with pass-through activation technology takes the stress out of parasite treatment for cattle and the rancher, leaving more time to tend to other vital tasks on the farm. To learn more, visit cowsprayer.com. The new hired hand makes healthy cows easy.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey folks, Dr. Dan here. Thanks for joining me. We're tackling antibiotics. We're talking about the real issues. We're talking about the relative risk. And it's important we get this message out. What the consumer really wants and what the consumer understands is we can't eat the elephant in one bite. We can't solve all problems of all industries, or I can't even solve all the problems with my pickup at once, right? We have to make strong strategy improvements, and we've done that in the industry. So the consumer wants us to just continuously try to get better every day, and we do that. Let's start out in the 1980s. We started out with beef quality assurance. Not only did that address the proper administration of our antimicrobials and address the veterinary client-patient relationship, but it also helped us with withdrawal times and preventing antimicrobial residues in the beef process. Then in the 90s, we got AMDUCA, an Extra Label Drug Use Act. And that really brought in that if you're going to use an antibiotic that is not approved for beef cattle, you have to have extra documentation from your veterinarian and you have to maintain records. That was in the 1990s. The next part of our story is US FARAD, which is a food animal residue avoidance database. And you can call 1-800 US-FARAD if you give an injection to an animal of any product, and they will within 24 hours get you the appropriate withdrawal times and let you know and let a veterinarian know when that animal is safe to ship. Great tool, great infrastructure, great story. Then in the late 90s or in the early 2000s, we as an industry took a voluntary ban to never use aminoglycosides or ginseng to treat cattle because of the 18-month withdrawal time that that product has. Lastly, we now have the veterinary feed directive coming forward. So when you look at beef quality, which is going to not allow antibiotics to be used for growth and feed efficiency, and you're going to have a prescription for feed-grade antibiotics just like we do for injectable. So when you look at our story in total to the consumer and how we're tackling antibiotic resistance and judicious use of antimicrobials, we started out with beef quality assurance in the 80s. We went to AMDUCA and extra label drug use. We have US FARAD as a tool. We took a voluntary ban on aminoglycosides, and now we have the veterinary feed directive. It's a great story. It's been a lot of work. I commend FDA. I commend the veterinary profession and beef producers for taking this on to continue to move the bar forward to provide even a safer, more wholesome product and more judicious use of antimicrobials. I hope that beef that's being imported in the United States is held underneath the same scrutiny. Wouldn't that be a shame with the amount of money and taxpayers? This is not something that is just done to support the beef industry. This is something that's done with taxpayer dollars, day in and day out, to provide a safe, consistent, wholesome food supply here in the United States. USDA and FDA, they should be out in front talking about how safe our food supply is. They should be talking about how good we're doing as using judicious antimicrobial usage. And they should stop retailers from making false claims that food products that antibiotics aren't used in are safer or more wholesome, because it's just not true. When we start to think about this and we start to think about import markets and we start to think about niche markets that are making claims against the conventional beef production that are false, I have a big issue with that, because we come to work every day to support the beef producers, the veterinarians, and more importantly, the consumers, so that they can afford to continue to put protein on the table for our young children here in the United States of America. Thanks for watching Doc Talk this morning. Remember, you can find us on the web at www.doctalk.tv. Always work with your local veterinarian. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson. I'm a little bit passionate about this subject. Thanks for watching us this morning, and I'll see you down the road.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.